If you want to get involved and look in this case, do it. If you don't, step aside. You are not required to respond to Candace Owens' content. That's actually not a requirement. You can keep doing your content, telling people that what you do is biblical while you ignore the glaring obvious crimes of Israel, which you refuse to ever denounce your support for. You know what I'm not doing? I'm not killing tens of thousands of children in Palestine by telling them that somehow this is what God wants, because it's right here in the Bible.
Candace Owens just slammed Israel First Zionists and the FBI for misleading and manipulating Americans. And in this clip, she gets into why they're still trying to get people to denounce any critics of Israel or the FBI over pressing political issues, and Tucker Carlson doing everything but that and going directly to bat for Candace Owens. So let's watch. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
Christian Zionism is heretical. I don't know what they are protecting, but if you don't see that it has gone masked down, the people who won't even speak about Bibi Netanyahu's crimes against humanity, he's being tried for crimes against humanity, all somehow have the energy to come for Candace Owens, right? To come for Candace Owens and to try to paint her as a crazy person because she had a dream. And I'm sticking with the dream. I'm sticking with the dream. Charlie was betrayed. He continues to be betrayed every single day, including by these same Christian Zionists that he platformed throughout his entire career, who apparently don't have a single question about any of the BS that we've heard. I also want to say to you guys, I know that I promised you we would discuss the Egyptian plains. What we have discovered is actually so big that I had to go through the proper channels to get this information to government first. And that was very tricky because I don't know who we can trust in government, right? It kind of feels like the government is implicated in trying to stop us from getting the truth about what happened on that day. So I had to be very careful, and I had to kind of back wheel and deal and try to figure out who the good guys were. And long story short, we're pausing that until tomorrow because I wanted to give some people a little bit more time on that. So I will have that for you tomorrow. Another element of this, by the way, as we talk about the I don't know, what is very clearly a psychological operation. They all have the same talking points. They're all using different emotionally manipulative tactics. So, oh, you can't question this because, like, he has a widow and kids and it would be so harmful to try to figure out who killed him. Just like on its face, that is such a nonsense. First and foremost, whenever there is a murder, full stop, the first people that you should be questioning is there a financial incentive? Is there a financial incentive? Yes, this is an $80 million company. Did people close to him? Do you have friends that were jealous? Was he in any fights? This is such a normal quest. It is completely normal. If anybody watch IDTV, come on, what are we talking about, right? This is such a normal thing to consider.
Especially when some of those people close to Charlie Kirk made up provable lies about him, like Josh Hammer, not only saying that, he was a complete rigid Zionist to the end, despite being privy to the fact that he said, I have no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause 48 hours before his death, continued to lie about him, continued to try to sell his book off of his murder. And yeah, financial incentives, that would be normal to look into, right? But when it comes to the Zionists, it really comes down to projecting what the people that they support in politics are most guilty of Netanyahu. They'll say, hey, there's so much anti-Semitism in America and there's a new Holocaust around the corner. And unless we change our course, we're going to go headlong into a new Holocaust. But you double down on the atrocities of Netanyahu and support that and justify it and just look the other way or ignore it when children are being pulled up from that rubble. That is the Zionist reasoning. That is what they are guilty of. It's always projection. They always project unto you the hypothetical situation that you'll do something that those who they support, the criminal U.S. and Israeli government, have actually done to kill multitudes.
And they are trying to pretend that natural incursion is just not palatable right now. We just need you guys to buy a t-shirt. We need you to buy a freedom t-shirt and just keep this organization going, even though it seems to have a lot of very questionable characters involved. It's a bit ridiculous. I'm very awake to, and I think you guys are as well, to these psychological tactics. And I've often discussed how in America, it is the media that intentionally fosters this sort of a culture. And in some regard, it's a Judas culture, right? There is a psychology that has manifested where people are encouraged to sell out their friends and even their family members in order to spare or advance themselves or to advance their careers.
Or to advance a certain particular foreign regime. I'll give you 3 answers as to which that is. You don't even need 3. It's just Israel. To prioritize Israel above all the rest, sell people out, sell political bedfellows out, only raise a scene about this when someone turns against that question. That's what's at the heart of this MAGA GOP civil war, whatever you want to call it. It's just turning on the issue of Israel from Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, are being more outspoken about that issue more now than ever, when it's utterly indefensible from the Zionist perspective to defend these atrocities anymore. If Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson would have, been more outspoken about any other issue that they might have, adjusted to, it wouldn't have caused this struggle. It is a struggle over Israel and its ramifications, not only in terms of foreign policy, but also domestic policy. It's Israel first. It's Israel first desperation. When you can't defend it, you just yell blood libel. That's what Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin and, all these rigid Zionists are doing right now.
That's today's version, in my view, of the 30 pieces of silver, right? That's what you see playing out on the world stage when someone tries to struggle session a person into making a statement against one of their friends. Candace, you're better than Kanye. You have your whole life ahead of you. You'll have more of a future if you just say this one thing. Call him Adolf Hitler. Call him an anti-Semite. No, thank you. I said no. Charlie, Candace is heading into a direction that's only going to hinder you. We demand as donors that you do not let her speak at AmFest. She's just a bad person. You got to make a statement against her. Charlie said no. Megyn Kelly, it's your career or it's Tucker Carlson. You decide, right? I'm your friend. I just want to help you. Tucker Carlson, he's really going a bad way. She said no.
Good for her, by the way. I'm no fan of her perspective on Israel. She still calls herself a Zionist, but she at least stood in front of her crowd and told the truth. Told the truth about Ben Shapiro's lies as Shapiro tried to manipulate her into denouncing Candace Owens based on lies, based on saying that Candace Owens had blamed Erica Kirk for Charlie Kirk's murder, something she obviously didn't do. That was exposed, and Ben should be smarter than to lay down something so provably false. But thankfully, Megyn exposed that. She didn't say, Ben Shapiro's a liar. I'd love for her to say that because we all recognize that is true. But at the same time, she did stand up and say that wasn't true. So good for her in that regard.
This is how it goes. It just made me so happy yesterday. Totally just was hyped. Especially, I think we all feel this way when you see this psychology employed and someone just completely annihilates it immediately. And Tucker did just that yesterday, or at least yesterday is when the clip went live. He completely embarrassed this English reporter who was effectively playing this game with him, asking Tucker to condemn me live on his show.
Of course.
Take a
That's
listen
what they always do.
To this awesome clip.
Your good friend Candace Owens has been putting out some pretty wacko stuff, I would say, would be my opinion on the death of Charlie. It's not helpful, is it, that, at that time of an incredible national upheaval, and obviously personal and familial family tragedy, to have someone like that picking apart the argument and suggesting that there are darker forces at play here that the US government have a hand in covering up. Can you see why people get upset by that and would like you perhaps to sort of distance yourself from that sort of thing?
Pretty funny. So am I going to attack Candace Owens because you think
I'm not asking you to attack her.
I'm not going to do that here.
I love that he just laughs at this. And by the way, I don't think it's particularly helpful to swallow the FBI story wholesale. No matter what your perspective is on this murder, just swallowing the FBI story as if there's no other, angles to this that haven't been uncovered, that the FBI wasn't exactly forthcoming about, including the Zionist donor class that, struggled to try to keep Charlie towing the line and the Israel First doctrine, despite the fact that he wasn't doing that. And we're just supposed to just swallow this narrative wholesale. No, I don't think that's helpful. That's what I think.
Probably not going to do that. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt as a foreigner of not understanding our politics, but the whole ritual of, this person said something I don't like. In order to be a good person, you must denounce this person. Obviously, I would die before I played along with that.
Right on.
I don't know anyone who's saying that who was the moral authority to compel me. I don't know anyone saying that it was any moral authority at all. And I would say broadly, not about Candace, comma, whom I love, comma, but about all people, getting to the truth is the most important thing. I've devoted my life to it. I haven't always done a very good job at all, but it still remains to this day my animating motive. I want to know what the truth is. Again, I don't always get there. I often usually don't get there, but I want to be the guy who cares what's true. A. B, if you're telling me that because the U.S. government or some law enforcement agency issues a statement that doesn't even make sense, that I'm required somehow morally to accept that and not ask any questions, like, can you hear yourself? I mean, what are you saying?
Oh man, there's so many great things in that response. Where do I start? So first off, he wanted him to denounce Candace Owens. That's what this journalist was going for, right? So not only did Tucker Carlson specifically say the opposite of what this journalist wanted, he said, whom I love, comma, saying I love Candace Owens, so I'm not going to denounce her as you wish. He laid out that she's searching for the truth and she's earnest about it. And I think she's earnest about it. I don't agree with everything in regard to all the angles she's uncovered or it being necessarily a military operation and being sure of that. You know, at times being sure that Lance Twigg was involved, being sure that also Turning Point betrayed Charlie or had some involvement. All three of those things, to me, that doesn't really make sense to me. But that said, that's immaterial. She's searching for truth the way she sees it, and we should search for truth the way we see it because the FBI doesn't exactly do that. The FBI's led us astray. The entrapment plots, Jan 6, killing women and children at Ruby Ridge and Waco, ruining the life of Richard Jewell in the 96 Olympics, you know, COINTELPRO wiretapping dissidents trying to get Martin Luther King to kill himself, murdering Fred Hampton with the help of Chicago police. This is what the FBI is guilty for. It can't be reformed. It can't be steered in a direction that's better than it is, especially under the stewardship of Kash Patel, of all people. It must be abolished.
It's just perfection. It's just literal perfection. What are you doing? Stop trying to gaslight us. You are a part of exactly what we need to defeat. You are a part of the establishment, this organ of people who use psychological tactics to try to make us think we are crazy for not accepting something that just makes no rational sense. So it's, oh, this is just a bad time, and this is a wacko jacko. Everybody's crazy when you start questioning the feds. Suddenly they want to call you crazy. And Tucker just annihilates it instantly. He's like, get out of here. I don't know where you're from. Okay, I assume you're a foreigner and you think that this is how things work in America.
I love that underhanded swipe, too. That was a perfect underhanded swipe toward him. I'm so glad he went on that show, man. That was a really good retort. That's how to handle any struggle session type of thing like this. Exactly what Tucker did. You know, retort 101.
And we're just going to accept the Fed slop because that's what we should do as polite citizens. No, get out of here. We want to know who killed Charlie Kirk because this story seems pretty dark. It seems pretty deep. And everyone that should be using their platforms to try to get to the bottom of what happened to him and asking similar questions is instead calling out Candace Owens and waiting for her to make a mistake so they can try to delegitimize every effort that she is making to get to the bottom of this thing. It just reeks. It reeks to high heaven. And so I absolutely adore Tucker for that. I adore him for just standing up for me. And obviously he's seasoned, so he sees right through it in the same way that I do. But that is the way forward. That is the way forward when people are trying this on you, trying to manipulate you using Bible verses like Allie did after she just ceded so much, essentially fundamentally called me a liar in her own way about various things, is now pretending she's like an injured bird because I responded, and I responded nicely, but suddenly trying to tell you it's not biblical for you to pry into what's happened to the Charlie Kirk assassination case. This is just not biblical.
Yeah, the Bible, prohibits you for searching for the truth regarding your friend's death. That's so absurd. And no matter times the Zionists hurl out Genesis 12:3 at us, it's not going to make that more justify the modern state of Israel, which was a globalist plot to redistribute land and do it on the backs of Palestinians who lost that land due to this global scheme supported by the U.S. and UN. Sorry, Genesis 12:3 doesn't justify that. It was speaking to an agreement with Abram before he even became Abraham and before there is even a classical kingdom of Israel, let alone the future modern state of Israel, which is a perversion and a genocidal regime that's supported and bankrolled by my criminal government that's complicit.
Yeah, it's a complete nonsense. She did a video yesterday. I don't get dreams like Candace. We see what you're doing. It's petty. Now you're being petty Betty. If you want to get involved and look in this case, do it. If you don't, step aside. You are not required to respond to Candace Owens' content. That's actually not a requirement. You can keep doing your content, telling people that what you do is biblical while you ignore the glaring obvious crimes of Israel, which you refuse to ever denounce your support for. You know what I'm not doing? I'm not killing tens of thousands of children in Palestine and trying to legitimize it to my audience by telling them that somehow this is what God wants because it's right here in the Bible. I don't know. That's so I'm going to be done addressing her, but I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, and also, I'm with Tim Pool here. Don't always agree with him, but right here he says it best. Candace Owens' drama is probably the most demoralizing stuff ever. It's true soap opera drama that isn't helping anyone. It's not advancing policy goals. It's just shock content retardation. And to be clear, he's talking about the people that say, oh, gasp, did you see that Candace said this in her investigation? Did you see that she uncovered this angle? And to be fair, you know, Candace is open season. She's a public official. You can say whatever you want to criticize her. But it's backfiring spectacularly, especially on the Zionists that try to double down on this stuff. So I think he's right on that.
These are all manipulative tactics, some of them more evil than others, but that's what's happening right now. And we have to just stay focused on solving what happened to Charlie Kirk. And the feds are not helping, maybe because Kash Patel is busy crying over his girlfriend. He really needs to believe that she likes him for him. I don't believe that. I actually don't accept that Alex Wilkins, who comes from a family of Freemasons and who's got a spotty background, nobody knows what she was doing in Switzerland, just loves him for him and was in the right place at the right time. By the way, I should mention Alexis Wilkins is her name, Alexis Wilkins. She's also a member of the Calvary Chapel Church in California, Chino Hills. Also, the Babylon Bee guy, I can't think of his name right now, is also involved in the Calvary Chapel. We got to look into this Calvary Chapel thing. It's getting interesting.
Is she talking about Joel Berry or Seth Dillon when she says the Babylon Bee guy? That connection I'm not sure of. I've followed most angles of this story, and that one doesn't really strike me. You know, what can you say, though? The whole Kash Patel thing and the honeypot thing, and him going after Elijah Schaffer for daring to suggest that is just absurd. And a lot of people have memed on this, thankfully so. It's caused kind of like a memeing uproar of people on Twitter kind of going viral saying that Alexa's a honeypot. Like, even if you don't think that, saying that to draw the ire of the FBI, you know, I don't want to entrap anyone, but I'm just saying if like millions of people are doing that, what does that say? The FBI has limited resources. Are they going to sue all of us? Every comedian, every influencer, every pundit saying that? I don't think they have the means, and I'm glad people are resisting that nonsense by making this, you know, the sad spectacle that it is, that the FBI is doing this while covering up the Epstein files and trying to do whatever they can to block any kind of alternative angles that Joe Kent presented for the Charlie Kirk assassination involving potential foreign angles, something that they shut down completely. Even when it came from this administration, they're locked in. They're not moving. They've decided on cover-up.
Just is getting interesting. Irrespective of that, the lawsuit, filing a lawsuit to convince yourself and backing your life partner as she files a lawsuit because somebody made a joke, because that's what Elijah Schaffer's lawsuit is about. It's a joke. And in the lawsuit, they talk about his anti-Israel rhetoric. Who cares? He doesn't go there. He can speak trash about Israel if he wants to. In fact, I encourage him to do that.
Yeah, I encourage everyone to speak trash about Israel, that's for sure. And Candace is right to call that pathetic. That's what it is. Suing Elijah Schaffer is truly pathetic. Just absurd. Even if you can construe it as libel or slander, it's just really stupid, especially when you're a public figure targeting citizens for saying this. You know, you don't even own your own reputation. So when someone says something that's their opinion about you, it's free speech. I'm sorry. And people will say, oh, you're crazy. You don't believe in slander or libel cases. I certainly don't when it comes to public figures who you're allowed to criticize. You're allowed to say that if that's your viewpoint. If it's provably false, that's fine. But again, you don't own your reputation. So it's not even an attack against you. Your reputation is the product of what other people think about you, and that's what they're attacking, not you. They haven't committed violence toward you, Kash. So anyone you try to sue, it just makes you look like the supervillain that you actually are, by the way, for covering up a child sex trafficking ring. And if you watch this full clip, which I recommend that you guys do, watch it, she gets into how Tim Dillon responded to this, and it's absolutely fantastic. I love Tim Dillon so much, so in the original clip, if you click on it, it's in the description, you can see him playing Alexa's music video, and his response to it's priceless. That's all I'll say. But definitely see it. Protect Tim Dillon at all costs, and protect Elijah Schaffer and Candace Owens at all costs too. But what do you guys think? You know, have we been lied to enough? You know, are the tactics of the Zionists being sussed out to such an extent that it's easy to destroy them now? Why do they never use actual defensible arguments anymore about the situation at hand? Why don't they just resort to anti-Semitism and Jew hater and Holocaust around the corner and blood libel? Why? Is it just because the arguments aren't on their side? And even if they are, that strategy's backfiring too. So what is the next pivot of the Zionists? Are they going to be able to sustain this propaganda campaign against Americans that are noticing? Let me know in the comments down below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to Candace Owens. Thank you for this awesome segment, Candace. And if you like this video, please consider becoming a YouTube member. You can do that by clicking the join button down below. If you do that, it'll help the channel, help me immensely, and I really appreciate that. And in return for that, I'll give you access to all my videos before they go live to the general public on YouTube. You'll be able to watch those members-only videos right away if you do that. And if you want a free copy of my first book, Compact of the Republic, click the link in the description below, plug in your email, I'll send that right to you in PDF form, free of charge, no obligation, just because I think you're cool. And until I see you guys next time, no more war, no more debt, no more inflation, and no more empire. Peace out, guys. Catch you in the next one.